Cruise news time. Well, look, there is a lot popping off. A brand new announcement from NCL about summer sailings. CLIA, they've responded to the CDC in regards to their newest guidance. And man, there's a nagging question out there. Will Florida block cruises over vaccines? Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Lido Loca. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news updates. Well, three big stories. Let's start with Norwegian Cruise Line's big announcement this morning. Here on April the 6th, 2021, they announced that they are returning to cruising this summer, announcing a cruise available in July and two cruises available in August, and none of those cruises start in the United States. But U.S. passengers will be able to participate. The first cruise that was announced is for July. It's a Greek Isles 7-day cruise on the Norwegian Jade from Athens, going to a variety of Greek cities. Some of them I can say and some of them I can't. So let's do the ones I can say. Athens, Rhodes, Mykonos, is that right? Corfu, Santorini, and two other cities yet to be named. No, they're named. You can go look up the information. But 7 days on the Norwegian Jade around Greece. But a little closer to home, Norwegian, following in the footsteps of Royal Caribbean, announcing cruises starting from Caribbean islands. Cruises that folks in the U.S. can fly from the U.S. to a Caribbean island and get on a cruise ship. First, let's talk about the Western Caribbean 7-day cruise on the Norwegian Joy from Montego Bay, Jamaica. It's going to be at Montego Bay, Harvest Cay, which is NCL's private island, Roatan, Honduras, Cozumel, and Ocho Rios. How about that? And then they're offering an Eastern Caribbean cruise, 7 days on the Norwegian Gem from Punta Cana, La Romana. That's in the Dominican Republic. And your stops on that cruise will be at Punta Cana, Bridgetown, Castries, Phillipsburg, and St. John's. Those are some sweet stops. So yeah, Norwegian not going to be left out in the cold this summer while they work through the hoops to get cruising again in the United States. They will also be looking to have revenue cruises available for U.S. passengers from the Caribbean. Now, quickly, before I tell you what CLIA said in response to the CDC's announcement of new cruise guidelines in the conditional sail order, let me take a quick moment to invite you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you like staying up to date with everything that's going on in cruising, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of the updates. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe. I mean, it literally is just a process so that you get updated or notified when a new show comes out. And we'd love to have you in the family, part of the notification squad. Thank you in advance. Can I get a hashtag notification squad from somebody in the comments so I know you're listening? Thanks in advance again. All right, second story. CLIA responds to the CDC regarding its phase 2A guidance in the conditional sail order. And let me just summarize it. They said, throw that junk out. Get rid of the conditional sail order and let us sail. They are reiterating the message that they put forth prior to this new guidance coming out. Again, calling it arcane. There is a press release. It's not super long. Let me go through it. I think the words are important. This is the press release from CLIA to the CDC. We share the priority of the Biden administration to control the virus and commend the significant advancements made in the U.S. that are a model for others. We also respect the authority of the CDC to implement measures in the interest of public health. However, the additional cruise industry instructions issued on April the 2nd by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention under the framework for conditional sailing are disappointing. The new requirements are unduly burdensome, largely unworkable, and seem to reflect a zero-risk objective better than the mitigation approach to COVID that is the basis for every other sector of our society. The effect of these new mandates is that nearly 500,000 Americans, from longshoremen to ground transportation operators to hotel, restaurant, retail workers, travel agents, and tens of thousands of businesses that service cruise ships are continuing to financially suffer with no reasonable time frame provided for the safe return of cruising. All right, that's a strong opening salvo. Again, CLIA doing exactly what we saw NCL do. They're aligning with the narrative. They're aligning with the strategy of the CDC, raising their hand saying, yes, we are on board with what you are doing. The only problem that we have is it doesn't seem that you're applying the same approach to the restart of cruising as you are to everything else. In everything else, you are letting things open up. You're seeing what's going on. How do you mitigate the spread in those scenarios? You're not closing down all of those businesses. But when it comes to cruising, you're saying, look, you can't open until there's zero COVID. And CLIA doesn't think it's reasonable, and they don't see the guidance that was set forth last week as anything that is workable. I mentioned it in the show the other day. There would be a few options that the cruise industry would take, and one of them would be to say, this isn't workable. And so we gotta have a conversation, or we're just not gonna do it. We're just gonna wait it out. And CLIA is saying, yeah, we're going with that. It's not workable. The press release continues. Moreover, the instructions are at odds with the approach the CDC and government and other parts of the world apply to all other travel and tourism segments in mitigating the risk of COVID-19. On the same day, CDC issued new onerous requirements for the cruise industry. 5 months after the original order, CDC issued relaxed guidance for domestic and international travel due to vaccination progress and recognition of the improved public health environment. Yeah, I mean, look, the case against the CDC is getting stronger and stronger, and CLIA here pointing out some inconsistency. They're saying if you're telling us that for international and domestic travel that's not on cruise ships, if the health conditions are getting better, that vaccinated people can do those with less restrictions, but you're still keeping cruising shut down, isn't that an inconsistent message? Is not cruising international travel? Now, we know that the CDC doesn't consider cruising just straight up international travel, but a case is being made here. And I think it's a case that I hope is listened to, because I think it's fair. And then finally, let's hit them with the data. Boom, boom. CLIA comes out with the data. Nearly 400,000 passengers have already sailed from Europe and parts of Asia since last summer, following stringent science-based protocols that resulted in a far lower incident rate than on land. The irony is that today an American can fly to any number of destinations to take a cruise, but cannot board a ship in the U.S. This deprives U.S. workers from participating in the economic recovery and does not recognize the public health advances that have been made over many months, including the ability to effectively mitigate risk on cruise ships. With no discernible path forward or time frame for resumption in the U.S., more sailings originating in the Caribbean and elsewhere are likely to be announced, effectively shutting American ports, closing thousands of American small businesses, and pushing an entire industry offshore. This is the debate, right? Many of you out there think that the CDC has a plan to close down cruising. And look, CLIA's asking, is that the deal? With these rules that seem inconsistent with other rules, what is the signal that you're putting forth to Americans who depend on cruise tourism? Are you signaling that everything else is allowed to open up but not cruising? Are you signaling that you would like to see cruising go away? Are you giving credence to these companies that are making decisions to sail from somewhere else? CLIA's making a good point here, making a good point. And then the closing shot, CLIA urges the administration to consider the ample evidence that supports lifting the conditional sail order this month to allow for planning of a controlled return to service this summer. If anything, the announcement last Friday is a clarion call for closer cooperation and coordination among stakeholders to achieve the president's goal of reaching a new normal by the 4th of July. Working together, we can avoid negative consequences that come when cruising and the workers who support it are not afforded the same opportunities as the workers in industry with far fewer practices in place to provide for public health and well-being. Man, again, a well-crafted argument. Look, we hear the message all around us that things are getting better, that we want to move back to a new normal, that we want to see economic recovery for American workers, that we want everybody to participate in that economic recovery. Why are you not allowing cruising to happen? And immediately it'll come to people's mind that they're not letting cruising happen because cruising's not an American endeavor. But that would be short-sighted, I think, because a lot of Americans derive their income, put food on the table of their families from the cruise business. But will this just be another appeal that falls on deaf ears? Is this going to go in the pile with the letter from NCL to be answered at some point, not sometime soon? This is what we're waiting on. Will the CDC respond to NCL? Will the CDC respond to CLIA? And will they get it? Will they understand the connection into the overall narrative of American economic recovery? Will they see how the cruise industry fits into that, or will they not? We wait and see. And finally, let's talk about that letter from Norwegian Cruise Line sent to the CDC yesterday and some of the issues that arose in that conversation. Let's talk about will the vaccine requirement put forth by Norwegian Cruise Line, will that require the state of Florida to block cruising? That's one thing. First, some clarification. A lot of people said, are there any exemptions to the vaccine requirement? Here's the clarification. Any passenger going on a Norwegian cruise up until October the 31st has to be fully vaccinated. Crew members have to be fully vaccinated. Passengers have to be fully vaccinated. Does that mean kids have to be vaccinated also to cruise on Norwegian? Yes, it does. They recognize that not all children can get vaccinated, but for those that can get vaccinated, they can cruise on Norwegian between now and October the 31st. And for kids that cannot, they cannot cruise. That is where they're at right now. Norwegian looking to get going in the U.S. by having a fully vaccinated crew and only taking fully vaccinated passengers. And this is where the rub comes in for Florida. Just last week, Governor DeSantis here in Florida wrote an executive order prohibiting businesses in Florida from requiring proof of vaccination. I read the executive order from Governor DeSantis. It says very clearly in there that Florida businesses cannot require proof of vaccine. In addition to that, the government will not participate in creating any kind of system to have vaccine data. And so a couple questions arise to me. Are cruise lines considered Florida businesses? Of course, they have headquarters here, but most cruise lines are incorporated in another country. So the fact that they're incorporated in another country, does that make them not a Florida business? Or the fact that they are doing business here in Florida, does that make them fall under this executive order? And then there's a whole nother conversation. Who's in charge of the seaports? And this is really an interesting and ironic conversation. The people in Key West voted that they did not want cruise ships at the seaport in Key West. Then the state legislature came around and said, look, you're not the only one that uses the seaport, and we don't think that the local people should have the ability to shut down the seaport because there is a local component to the seaport, but there is a state component. Interestingly, as I did some research to see who had jurisdiction over the seaport, there is a local component to the seaport, there is a state component to the seaport, and there is a federal component to the seaport. So there are 3 levels of jurisdiction going on at the seaport. And so that raises the question, if the CDC approves this plan by NCL to require proof of vaccination at the seaport, does that jurisdiction override the jurisdiction of the state in the same way that the state is overriding the jurisdiction of the local? Honestly, it's above my pay grade, or I haven't found the right data to draw the line. But here's a thought, just anecdotally, that I have. If DeSantis had the power to decide what happened with the seaports fully, I believe that cruising would be happening right now. And so it does suggest that there is some dance between federal and state and local. And so I don't know if the DeSantis executive order will block cruises from Florida that require a vaccine. And if they do, that would be a big blow to Norwegian's plan. That would be a big blow to Florida because, you know, the biggest seaports in the country as far as cruising goes are right here in Florida. Will this executive order in Florida block cruises from the U.S. that require a vaccine? That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Boom, that's your cruise news. Are you still here? Can you hashtag still here in the comments? Thank you so much for watching the show today. Please hit the like button. Check out this recommended video from YouTube. I'm Tony for Lido Loca, and until the next time, or until the next breaking news story, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.